Hey everybody, welcome back to JT channel. Welcome to basically an unfortunate video. A video that I'm sure by the end of I will be very angry. And yeah, just a heads up that the further this video goes, the more emotional I'm going to get. We are here to talk about the WWE releases that took place last night. I only started learning about them when there was only like 4 or 5 names, maybe 6. Because of how I learn about these things. They usually come through on like Twitter first, and then the other social medias learn about it. And I don't have Twitter for a multitude of reasons, but I went to bed before they were finished, or at least before they moved on to where I could know about them, before I could just look them up online or whatever. So what I've done here is I've written down all 15 names. Now, I, of course, the way I record videos on my phone and everything, I don't have a way to just stop recording and check if there's been more releases, but this is the most updated list as of right now. So if there are more releases today, tomorrow, anytime this week that I can report on or talk about, I will. I say report on. I'm aware that this channel only has 137 subscribers, and most of you aren't wrestling fans. Usually my wrestling videos bring in outside views, which I always appreciate. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Even though it's a really small voice, I do feel like I have a voice in the wrestling community, and I try to portray myself as such. Portray that I love pro wrestling and I like to talk about these things. Not that this is fun to talk about, but I do feel like I do need to talk about them, and I should talk about them. So what I've done is I've written down all 15 names from the people I know the least down to the people I know the most. Now, this is not a list of people I like the most or the least, because I love all these people. It's just some of the names from NXT I didn't know that well. Not that I didn't know them at all. And then, of course, the main roster names I knew more. And believe me, I'm going to repeat what I said. I'm probably going to be very emotional by the end of this. So I'm just going to read the names off to you from top to bottom. And then I'm going to talk about each person and stuff like that. We'll go through them individually as far as like what they've been doing. And it doesn't matter how I feel about them personally. All that matters is that they, as human beings, get work after this. I will put the slightest bit of respect on WWE because they made a note, well, Fightful Select and the people that reported all this made a note that WWE is going to pay them throughout their non-competes, which, of course, for main roster is 90 days, for NXT is 30 days. So I don't know if they did that in the past or not. I have no clue, but more or less I just care about where they land. But I will talk about what I know about them. And again, it's going to get... So from NXT, we had Eddie Thorpe, Javier Bernal, Oro Mensah, Riley Osborne, Jakara Jackson, Gallus, which is Wolfgang, Joe, and Mark Coffey, and Gigi Dolan. And from the main roster, we had Caden Carter and Katana Chance, Shayna Baszler, Cora Jade, Dakota Kai, and Braun Strowman. Now, obviously, as I read the names off, you could tell that it's like, these are people that you may not know very well that have been on NXT, and then it was bigger names and bigger names and bigger names when we got down to the bottom there. But again, this isn't a list of like how I feel about them, but I've never been shy about how much I love Braun Strowman, but we will get to that in a minute. So at the top of the list here, all the NXT releases. So I believe Oro Mensah may have been a member of the Metaphor or something like that. One of those factions. Very talented individual. Javier Bernal, I don't really know much about. Same with Riley Osborne, although I do know that name. When I heard Riley Osborne, it clicked up here. So I feel like I've watched him wrestle before. But again, I just don't know him that well. The people I want to focus on in NXT, for people I know anyway, are Eddie Thorpe, Jakara Jackson, Gallus, and Gigi Dolan. Now, Jakara Jackson and Eddie Thorpe are two people that I did, when it comes to like what I know about them. I mentioned the few people I don't know pretty much anything about: Javier, Oro, Riley. Eddie and Jakara, I know enough about. Jakara Jackson was someone that I truly enjoyed watching. I think I even got her mixed up with someone else in the past just because I liked Jakara Jackson that much. She's really, if I remember correctly, she was really good on the mic. She was really good in the ring. She was always improving. And it sucks that she never got a chance to be pushed higher, because she would have been a great, great star on the main roster. And same for Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe did a couple of like really good feuds where he's one of those wrestlers that sometimes you can't be sure if he knows wrestling's supposed to be fake or not. And I always liked that about him. He had a realism about him, and someone else who was just consistently or constantly good in the ring and always improving. Gallus, that one doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Now, I know that they haven't been used a whole lot, especially lately. Had to fix my camera a little bit. But I've always been big on Gallus, especially Wolfgang. There's nothing wrong with the Coffees, Joe and Mark Coffey. They're fantastic. But I remember seeing Wolfgang as a singles competitor years ago and just being enthralled with, like, a man that big was doing, like, spaceman planchas and big dives, and he was doing them like the way cruiserweights do. You know, sometimes when a bigger guy does a dive, they land, and they have to sell it for a second because they're so big. They're like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. But Wolfgang would hit his big dive and just pop back up to his feet, and in the ring, he's always incredible. So, Gallus, they definitely had what it takes to, like, they could have gone to the main roster and it would have felt normal. You know, they could have jumped up there as a faction, as a trio, and taken on, like, the Judgment Day or the LWO or any of these other factions on Raw or SmackDown, or just the Coffees could have done something. Wolfgang, I'm telling you, Wolfgang is so good. And Gigi Dolan, if you don't know who Gigi Dolan is, just look that name up. And if you know anything about me, it's clear why I love her so much. But besides the obvious reasons, it's once again someone who, I believe, she may have been Priscilla Kelly on the Indies. I don't know for sure. I should have looked that up before I made this video. Even if she wasn't that girl on the Indies, I do remember knowing her before she came to WWE. And then, of course, in WWE, on NXT, she's been fantastic. Someone else that, once again, could have moved to the main roster seamlessly. And she's been having this team with Tatum Paxley lately. And I thought there was someone else. I thought they were like a trio. I thought they like had formed like a new group with each other. Now she's just been released. So this is just like my personal takes on these superstars. I left the one I know the most for last, Gigi Dolan, who, again, yes, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. The first thing that drew me to her were her. And then watching her in the ring was just exciting every time. She has what it takes to go anywhere, land on her feet, and be just fine. This sucks for a lot of these superstars. Being on NXT nowadays is pretty good. It's pretty fun. NXT has come really far, in my opinion. It is definitely seen as the third brand now, instead of just like developmental superstars from other companies and from the main roster will jump down there. And it's still called, NXT, and then Raw and SmackDown are the main roster. But, a lot of this, I don't know why these superstars have been released. I don't think all the news has come out yet. I mean, maybe their contracts have come up, or maybe they wanted to be released. I have no idea. But it's hard to believe when you, like I said, think back to the things that Eddie Thorpe has done, Gigi Dolan has done. It's just how good and how interesting the Coffees and Wolfgang are, either as Gallus or, like I said, you could have separated them, had the Coffees here and Wolfgang here. But it's definitely frustrating because people like that, the people I just mentioned, really especially Gallus and Gigi Dolan, have been on NXT for a long time. And I feel like, I said this about Jakara Jackson too, it's not fair that they didn't get a shot at the main roster. And I feel like that should be something for everybody on NXT, is if you're going to release these people, you should let them try out on the main roster first. You should have Gallus come to the main roster and do a feud with someone like that. Someone like maybe the War Raiders, right? Imagine Joe Coffey and Mark Coffey against the War Raiders. That would be absolutely brilliant match. And then you can see how they do. But releasing them before they got a fair shot at the main roster just sucks. So now I'm going to move on to the main roster. And this, again, it's going to seem like I'm spending a lot more time on certain superstars. And that's just because of my personal feelings, how much I like them, and how much I know about them. But I'm big mad. That's what I said on social media. I'm big mad about a lot of these. I'm pretty pissed off about all of them, to be honest with you. But every single one of them will land on their feet. But to the main roster we go. Pardon me. We'll start with Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Now this one makes me mad because WWE, they did that thing, and they've done this before. And this was a very Vince McMahon era thing, which makes me think that Triple H, as good as he's doing, you have to remember who taught him about the business. Vince McMahon. So, anyway, what they did was they took some coal and pressured it into a diamond and then chucked it in a river. Like that episode of Adventure Time that was sponsored by Minecraft where Jake mined a bunch of diamonds and just wanted to throw them into lava. Because Kaden and Katana, since they've been a team, that's the first time they teamed up, they've been constantly entertaining. They've done everything you've asked them to do. They disappear for months off of television, come back, lose a match, then be in a number one contenders match, lose that anyway. They are former women's tag team champions, but I can't even remember how long they held the belts. They are definitely two wildly talented superstars. I don't want to try to pinpoint where these people are going to go, but they would fit perfectly in a place like All Elite Wrestling, where flying around and flipping and doing OMG moves is like the thing there. And that's what they always did. They were always very high-flying, very athletic, very fast-paced, and they always made you believe. Like, every single time they were on TV, they could be up against the women's tag team champions. You haven't seen them for 3 months, forget that. And they could suddenly walk on TV one week and go, title shot. And they'll get the title shot on Raw, and you just know, there's no way they're going to win. But they always knew how to make you believe. So, clearly I'm a huge fan. I've been a huge fan of Kaden Carter for a really, really long time. I have to go, if you go look up Kaden Carter and go look at her past ring names, I can't, again, something I should have researched before I made this video, and I apologize for that. But before she was Kaden Carter, she was in WWE as a different name, and then I was a huge fan of her. I was like, she's got what it takes. She's got like this, she has the it factor. Kaden Carter does. I'm not saying Katana Chance doesn't. I'm saying that Kaden Carter has had it for a long time, and I've always been a big fan of her. Katana Chance also has like a lot to her. Putting them together was a really good idea, and as was pointed out this morning by What Culture News, shout out to Gareth. I'm sorry, I can't. Sorry about this. If you guys don't know Gareth Edwards from What Culture, don't worry about it. He is bald. That's the joke. But he pointed out that they're one of the few women's teams, one of the few tag teams in WWE that stayed together for a really long time. They weren't really thrown together. I think they were put together for one reason or another. They probably felt like a thrown together tag team back when they were first put together. But they've been together for a long time. And like I said, very, very talented. They both can go anywhere they want and just shine like the diamonds they are. And yeah, this one makes no sense to me. None at all. Especially since it's WWE's own fault. Like, they just had to book them more. But instead they're like, oh, we didn't, so goodbye. Next up, Shayna Baszler. The flop of the year, the century, the decade, I don't know. It's not her fault. Once again, it's none of these guys' faults, guys and gals, unless if they ask for their release, it's still not their fault. If their contract is up, it's still not their fault. That's not how pro wrestling works. You have to be booked by your company to showcase yourself. And Shayna was always booked pretty well, maybe the last year or so, not so much. But she wasn't ever pushed to where she could go. And that's always bothered me, and it's always bothered a strong majority of the pro wrestling community. Because she's just so good. You know, she's not... I mean this in the nicest way possible. She's not Ronda Rousey. I love Ronda Rousey. I loved Ronda Rousey her entire WWE run. Yes, the whole thing. Even when everyone else hated her. Because I'm a mark. I'm not gonna lie. I was a fan of Ronda before she came to WWE. Same with Shayna Baszler. I knew who she was. She came in, and as much as I loved Ronda, like wholeheartedly, Shayna was always the killer. She always had so much going for her, and WWE just never capitalized on it, and it just does not make sense. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. Releasing her might be beneficial. It might be beneficial for all of these guys. I'll talk about Matt Cardona's tweet in just a second. Matt Cardona. But she took WWE took to professional wrestling so well, and still looks like she's a UFC fighter, an MMA fighter. Like, and that, we talked about this earlier with Eddie Thorpe. There are wrestlers out there that sometimes when they wrestle, you're like, do they know this is professional wrestling, or are they just fighting this person? And that's what Shayna Baszler did a lot. And that's because she was able to seamlessly transition from one to the other. And I don't think, out of everybody on this list, and, well, maybe not out of everybody, but she is the first one that pops to mind for sure. That's like, oh, she's gonna be great. She can go anywhere she wants. She can go to another company. She can go back to MMA. She can do both. Nobody cares. Maybe she go join Real American Freestyle. We're not talking about that. But she could go anywhere. She can do anything. It was definitely the biggest flop. Well, we'll talk about the actual biggest flop here shortly. But Shayna Baszler, I'm definitely miffed about that one. But I'm definitely confident that when her 90 days is up, so what is it? It's May, June, July, August. So by SummerSlam, by the end of August, early October, I don't think by like All In Texas or anything. Again, I have to remember when that is. But I think they'll all be fine. Shayna will end up somewhere else, and we'll all be happy to see her there. Cora Jade, I put her here on the list because it's someone that I'm not entirely sure where she falls, because I guess she's still on NXT, which, beggars belief. Why did I put her lower in the list here? Because I think it was 10 from NXT and 5 from the main roster. But Cora Jade is someone that just, come on, how did you fumble Cora Jade? She was this like perfect anti-superstar, more or less. And when she was a babyface, she always got the crowd riled up because she was the rock star, and you get into her energy and you could cheer her on. And when she was a heel, she knew what to say, what to do, how to act. It's just someone that had all the tools to be a top star on the main roster, and WWE was just kept her on NXT, and then when she'd go away for a while, she'd come back, and they just would never do the things with her that you could do with her. And I mean, I could see her having WrestleMania matches with like Rhea Ripley, or, well, I always say Rhea Ripley because of the rock star persona, but really with anybody. Cora Jade could be at WrestleMania. She could be on the 2-night SummerSlam. I think that's why I put her here. Because as much as I love like Gigi Dolan and Gallus and Eddie Thorpe and the other people from NXT, Cora Jade was a top tier superstar. We've seen like Roxanne Perez and Julia and them all on Raw lately. Cora could have been up there too, and it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference. Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, I think, teamed up and feuded, and it was always good. Roxanne and Cora could have been on the main roster together as a team. They could have faced fucking Kaden and Katana. And that match would have been awesome. I mean, maybe they did wrestle. I don't know anymore. WWE, there's too much wrestling up here. Do the EO Sky. But yeah, Cora, just, I don't get that one. I don't get any of these, to be fucking honest with you. But that one's one that, for me personally, really pissed me off because she was always right there, always on the cusp. WWE was pushing her on NXT. She'd be here, she'd be champ, she'd be no more contender, whatever, and then she'd fall and disappear. And this is how they repay all the hard work she put in. So, Cora Jade is someone, if she is still under NXT contract, 30 days from now, that's, June 3rd, June 4th, whatever, she'll be fine. She'll be absolutely fine. I would not be surprised to see her in AEW. Would make perfect sense, but she could also go, wherever she wants. Maybe she'll go to, like, GCW and do some crazy shit. Down to the last two. And this is, as you can tell, this has been the longest part of the video talking about the main roster. And this is where it's going to get long-winded and I'm going to get angry. Because I mentioned Shayna could be the biggest flop ever. But not Shayna herself. I realized how that came out. WWE's biggest flop was how they booked Shayna Baszler. But perhaps none are as big, not literally, I'm not talking about Braun Strowman yet, as fucking Dakota Kai. What the fuck, WWE? What the fuck, Triple H? What the fuck, Shawn Michaels? What the fuck, Nick Khan? What are you guys doing? I have talked about this many times. I was in the crowd 3 years ago at SummerSlam in Nashville. I live near Nashville. And I was making enough money to where I could go to SummerSlam with a buddy of mine. And we went. SummerSlam in Nashville. Nissan Stadium. Great time. Opening matchup was Becky Lynch and somebody. Point is, it ended, the match at, Bianca Belair. It was Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. And when the match was over, Bayley returned. And who came out after her? Dakota Kai. Now, if you were live in the crowd, you were shocked because this was around the time Triple H had took over from Vince the first time. And Dakota had been released back then. And there was no news whatsoever that she had been re-signed. None. So this was a genuine shock. And then Io Shirai at the time, her music hit and I almost tripped down concrete steps. Because I'm such a big Io Shirai fan. Io Sky now. But anyway, that was the start of Damage Control. If you watch it back on the network or Peacock or whatever, Netflix overseas, I guess, Michael Cole is even being like, she's not supposed to be here. What is she doing here? Because that was a story at the time, is that Dakota Kai had been fired from WWE. So why was she all of a sudden here on SummerSlam? Ever since then, WWE has done fuck all and jack shit with Dakota Kai. And it continually makes everyone angry. Dakota Kai is one of the most talented women's wrestlers in the fucking world. All right? And I will not hear anything else of it. When she is in the ring and she's allowed to go, when she's not given 4 minutes in a tag team match to take a pin from Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Sorry, I just got a text. She's amazing. She's incredible. And the fact that WWE released her again, forget about it. I don't mind that she wasn't the first women's Intercontinental Champion. I figured we'd get there eventually, and they just released her. It's stupid. I am going to have to cut this video a little short. I just got a text that my breakfast is ready. Well, we're having family over this weekend. We're having a big breakfast. But the last person released was Braun Strowman. I have not been silent about how much I love Braun Strowman. He's one of the best big man wrestlers I've ever seen. And this last year alone, he helped get Jacob Fatu over. He helped get Bronson Reed over. That last monster standing match against Bronson and last man standing match against Jacob Fatu are two of my favorite matches of the last couple of years in WWE. Another man who did everything you fucking asked of him. And this is the second time they've released him. It's the second time they've released Dakota Kai. All these superstars, all these men and women, I hope nothing but the best for. I had more thoughts, like I said, but I'm going to go ahead and calm down. Clearly, I'm angriest about Dakota Kai. I wrote Braun Strowman last, assuming I'd be maddest about him. I love Braun Strowman. I love Dakota Kai. I love Cora Jade. I love all these men and women. And even the ones I didn't know very well, Ora Mensa, Riley Osborne, Javier Bonthal, I hope all of them land on their feet. Keep an eye out for them 30 to 90 days from now. But yeah, unfortunately, those are the names that have been released by WWE. And those are my personal feelings. Like I said, I had more to say, but I do have to get back to my life, I suppose. But that's it. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you think about these releases. If there are more releases, I will make a video about it and we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's a fucking insane world. Matt Cardona said it best. They have 3 options. 1, they can disappear into obscurity. 2, they can just coast on their WWE name. Or 3, they can go out there, make a name for themselves, and make a lot of goddamn money. That's what I hope every single one of them do. Even if they still have their WWE name, if they're able to keep it or whatever, I hope every single one of these men and women go out there when their contract or their no compete is up and go out there and kick ass. If any of you see this video, go out there, kick some ass. You're all amazing. Thank you very much for joining me. This is JT Channel. I am JT, and I will see you in the next video, and I hope to God it's not more releases.